happy readers, my name is Liz and today we're talking to Rachel Hartman, the author of Seraphina, and this is her debut novel which comes out on July 10th.
Hey Liz and fans, how are ya? I am happy to be here and answer a few of your questions.
So Rachel, tell me a little bit about this Seraphina.
Seraphina is the story of a girl growing up in a world where dragons can take human form. And this, as you might imagine, causes a certain amount of trouble. The dragons and the humans don't exactly trust each other. They've had an uneasy peace for many years. And she is rather uniquely caught in the middle of this conflict. And the story takes place when she has grown up and has just left home for the first time, in a job at the court. And how she finds herself swept up in politics and trying to navigate her way in this world.
What inspired you to write about dragons rather than the vast amount of other mythical paranormal creatures we have today?
Well, I have always had dragons in my head, ever since I was a kid. In fact, the dragons in Seraphina, the very first origin of dragons was when I was in 7th grade. I wrote a narrative poem. We had to write a narrative poem, and I took off with it and wrote this poem called The First Adventure of Sir Amy, about a female knight and who went to rescue the princess, and there was this dragon in the castle that was playing the cello. Years later, I wrote a comic book about the same character, Amy, who was a little girl then and not a knight, except in her head. And I wanted dragons in the comic, but I discovered that I really hated drawing dragons. So I thought, aha, if the dragons could take human form, then that would be very convenient for me to draw them. And that really was the origin of this world of the dragons taking human shape.
Are there any books or TV shows or movies that inspired you to write Seraphina?
You know, I can't really say that there are, but there's a lot of music that has inspired Seraphina. In fact, one of my earliest inspirations was when my sister was in college. She was taking a class on medieval music, and she had all this stuff she had to listen to for homework. And she'd bring it home, and we all ended up listening to it. And but a song really struck me. It was called Mille Regrets by Josquin des Prez. And I can't sing it for you. It's a multi-part, polyphonic masterwork, as it were. But that really stuck in my head and stuck with me, and I think inspired, in part, this whole medieval world that I've created.
Can you explain why there are so many mentions of saints in this novel?
Well, I'm a little bit of a nerd. I know you can't tell by looking, but I've done a lot of research on the Middle Ages, and obviously when you're creating a fantasy world, you don't recreate the literal Middle Ages, but you try and bring in elements that you think are interesting, significant, culturally important, and create a culture out of all these pieces that you have. Saints in the Middle Ages played a particular role in people's lives and in the sort of consciousness of the country, as it were. And so I thought that was a good way to introduce the religious element without having it actually be Christianity, right? Because I don't want to write about Christianity and have people be offended, and yet I want cathedrals and I want priests and I want, so we had to find a way to work that in.
Is there anything you would like to warn the readers about before they read this novel?
Is there anything I would like to warn them about? Yes, there is. I used the word camelopardine at one point. That's a very long word and a very unusual word, but I love it so much, and my editor very kindly allowed me to stick with this word. It means giraffe-like. In the Middle Ages, that people didn't really know what giraffes were, or they didn't have a separate name for it, and so the camelopard, it was a word that came from camel and leopard, right? Which makes sense, spotted and long-necked.
That's all the time we have for today. I would like to thank Rachel as well as Random House for their time, and just thank you so much. That was a wonderful pleasure being able to interview her, and I hope you all go out and buy Seraphina on July 10th. I'm halfway through, and I can't wait to finish it, and it's gonna be amazing. Dragons! 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 And the dragons wanted me to tell you to have a great day and keep reading. Hello, happy readers. My name